Samantha was in her 5th year working at the architecture firm. Andrew arrived just as she was settling in, taking over as creative director. Tall, slightly disheveled, with sea blue eyes and a habit of staying late. Samantha fell in love, not right away, but imperceptibly, first with his way of arguing about projects, then with the way he laughed at her jokes. And then simply with him. She knew everything about him, that he hated foam in cappuccino, that he was allergic to birch wood, and that the best way to cheer him up was to put a chocolate bar on the table. She also knew something else: he was married to Rita. Rita was one of those women who show up at corporate events once a year and leave a lasting impression. Long dark hair, perfect posture, a job at a major law firm. Andrew spoke of her with pride. Rita said so. Rita and I went. Samantha listened and smiled, but her insides sank. 3 years. 3 years of sighs, accidental touches in the elevator, and lonely evenings with a glass of wine. Samantha had almost resigned herself to it. That Thursday was miserable. It had rained since morning, and by evening the city had turned into a continuous watercolor blur. Samantha had stayed late at work. Andrew had criticized her presentation. He himself had left early. It was Rita's birthday, and Samantha had even helped him choose a bouquet of peony roses. Around 9, she left the office. Rain lashed her face. She walked toward the underpass, past the Astoria restaurant where she and Andrew sometimes ate lunch. Then the bright headlights hit her eyes. A black SUV was parked at the entrance. A girl was getting out of the passenger door. Long hair, perfect posture. Rita. Samantha froze. A man stepped out of the driver's door. Not Andrew. Taller, broader in the shoulders, with a brazen smile. He put his arm around Rita's waist and kissed her. A long, sensual kiss. Rita laughed, smoothed her hair, and they disappeared into the restaurant. Samantha's umbrella fell from her hands. The rain lashed her face, and she stood there, unable to move. Her first thought: I have to tell Andrew. Her second: what will I say? That I followed his wife. And the third was the most terrifying: if I tell him, he'll suffer. If I keep quiet, maybe I'll have a chance. She hated herself for that thought. But she couldn't shake it. In the morning, Andrew was beaming. He told her how wonderful he and Rita had been, how special the cake he'd ordered, how happy she had been. Samantha nodded and felt like a traitor. Looking into his happy eyes and remaining silent was unbearable. Month followed month. Samantha became a shadow. She watched Andrew, catching the changes in his mood. Sometimes he seemed thoughtful, but he brushed it off. Work matters. She wanted to speak, but at the last moment her resolve faded. She was afraid. Afraid of losing his trust, afraid he'd accuse her of lying, afraid of change. She began to notice he was staying late at work more often. He used to rush home, now he stayed late. Samantha enjoyed these moments, but a feeling of guilt gnawed at her inside. It all came to light. On Friday evening, Andrew invited her to a coffee shop across the street. When she walked in, he was already sitting at a table with whiskey, not coffee. You know, I always thought I had the perfect life, he began, not looking at her. A job I love. A woman I love. But it turns out the walls are made of cardboard. Samantha's heart sank. Yesterday I arrived 2 hours early. I decided to surprise Rita. I bought some flowers. I go into the bedroom. His voice wavered. She was there with him. With a lawyer from her firm. You know what she said? Andrew, it's not what you think. He laughed. But it was terrifying. 6 months. She lied to me for 6 months. Samantha looked at him and knew. This was her moment. She could have said, I know. I saw them outside the restaurant a month ago. I'm sorry I didn't tell you. But she looked into his eyes. There was such pain, such emptiness, and again remained silent. She couldn't add to his pain the feeling of betrayal from her. I'm here, she said quietly, covering his hand with hers. I'll always be here. He looked up at her with grateful eyes. Thank you, Sam. You're a true friend. Friend. The word sounded like a death sentence. 6 months passed. Andrew was divorced. Rita went to see a lawyer. Andrew was worried, drinking, and immersed himself in work. Samantha was there, bringing him lunch and listening to his drunken rants about how he still loved Rita. It was unbearable, hearing the man of your dreams crying for another woman when you'd do anything for him. But one day, he looked at her differently. Sam, he asked. Why didn't you get married? I never met the right person, she shrugged. From that day on, he began to notice her. He saw her smile, her care, the sparkle in her eyes. It began to dawn on him. Slowly but surely. It happened in the elevator. They were coming down from the parking lot at night. The elevator jerked and stopped. The lights went out, the emergency lights came on. In the dim light, his eyes seemed bottomless. He took a step. Brushed a strand of hair from her face. Sam, I was a blind idiot. You were here all this time. I realized I loved you. It seems I always did. I was just afraid to admit it. Tears poured from her eyes. Happiness, pain, relief, all mixed together. And guilt. The same guilt that had been lingering inside her for almost a year. Now they were together. Andrew had moved in with her. The happiness seemed complete. But the secret weighed on her heart like a stone. Samantha had been tempted to tell him about that evening outside the restaurant several times, but now she was even more afraid. If I tell, he'll think I was waiting for Rita to leave. He'll think I'm just as dishonest. The secret was eating away at her. She slept poorly, startled by phone calls. Andrew noticed and asked, but she brushed it off. One Saturday. They were scrolling through old photos on his phone. They came across a video from the company party. Andrew pressed play, and Rita's voice came over the speaker. She was telling her friend. My Andrew is so trusting. I'll say I'm staying late at work, and then I'll go to the restaurant with Dan. He'll never guess. Even if someone sees, no one will tell. They'll be afraid to offend me. Andrew froze. He watched the video again. Then he turned to Samantha. A strange calm was in his eyes. So someone could have seen. Someone could have told. But didn't. I wonder why. It was the moment of truth. Samantha realized, if she kept silent now, their relationship would never be real. Andrew, her voice trembled. I have to tell you. I saw her. That evening, a month before you caught them. I was leaving work. It was raining. She was getting out of the car outside the restaurant with him. I saw them kissing. I saw everything. And I kept quiet. Because I was afraid. Afraid of hurting you, afraid you wouldn't believe me, afraid that everything would change between us. I was selfish. I'm sorry. If you want me to leave, I'll understand. She covered her face with her hands, expecting anger, contempt, departure. But instead, she felt his hands on her shoulders. He pulled her close. Shut up, silly, he whispered. You've been carrying this inside you for so long. I knew it. A week after I caught them, the security guard from the restaurant called me. He said Rita was always there with another man. And that on that Thursday, a girl was standing in the rain, watching them. He described your coat. I knew, Sam. I knew almost immediately. And I waited. Waited for you to tell me yourself. She pulled away. Disbelieving. You knew? And you kept quiet. I understood why you kept quiet. You loved me and you were afraid. It's wrong that you hid the truth. But I can't blame you. You were there when I was down. You cared. You didn't try to take Rita's place until I was ready. You made the wrong choice, but for the right reasons. You really forgive. I love you, he replied. And love isn't just about happiness. It's also about forgiving. Samantha burst into tears on his chest, for the first time in a long time. They were tears of relief. The secret was no longer a secret. The wall had crumbled. They sat until morning, talking. About the past, about the future, about how there would be no more secrets. Andrew understood the main thing. Samantha wasn't perfect. She had made a mistake. She had been cowardly. But her love was real. And it proved stronger than her fear. Now that everything had been said, they could build their relationship from a clean slate. From the truth. Perhaps bitter, perhaps belated, but the truth that had set them both free. Samantha never thought about that evening outside the restaurant again. And if the memory came, she knew, she had done everything right in the end. She had told the truth. And the truth had set them free.